Angela Harkness, a person from Iran, a mother, a daughter, and a sister. But more notably, she's also a former NASCAR team owner. However, with that, she's also a former stripper, former scam artist, and a now convict in the United States. This is not just any other normal story of a NASCAR team owner. This is a story of one of the biggest cheats in NASCAR history. This is episode 2 of NASCAR on MDK Inside the Line Stock Car Stories, as we take a look at the life of Angela Harkness, NASCAR's Black Widow. The biggest cheat in NASCAR history can be traced back to an exotic dancer with a multi-personality. Fatemeh Angela Karimkhani was born on April 27, 1976 in Tehran, Iran. She first moved to the United States in Austin, Texas in 1996 for a short time and then moved to San Fernando Valley, California, where she became a stripper at the infamous Candy Cat nightclub. It was there she met Angela Harkness, where they married on January 10, 1999. But the relationship was rattled with domestic violence, with Dion, surprisingly, the victim, and Angela, as what Dion's friends will call her, Black Widow. Dion often came to work with scratches on his face, right around his eyes and neck, and if we asked him what happened, he explained it with branches or cats. The police would always stand by his wife's side, as it seems incredible if a man becomes a victim of physical abuse in a family, especially if he's twice as tall and one half as tall as a woman. I think this was the reason why he didn't cut back. He knew he wouldn't get out of the case. Even after Dion and Angela had a baby together, their relationship remained in turmoil. 9 days later, on February 26, 2001, Dion called in sick and took a day off. That day off became 1 day, then 2 days, and then 3 days. As a result, colleagues went to check on him. The door to his house was open, but Dion was nowhere to be found. Days had gone by without a trace of Dion anywhere. Some of his colleagues thought that he went off the radar for some time to himself and his family. However, that was far from reality. On March 26, 2001, 9 days after Dion was first reported missing, Angela Harkness was found dead with a single gunshot wound to the mouth with a .357 Magnum in the Roof Inn Hotel, 70 kilometers from his house. A 5-page letter was found along with a blood-stained paper bun with just one sentence, quote, "Angela ruined my life." According to the suicide note found in his office, Angela would often taunt him, saying she could bring the police to their house on her trumped-up abuse charges anytime she wanted. Friends say that Angela once even threw a punch at him while she was holding their baby girl. Oddly, according to friends and co-workers, Angela somehow seemed to know Dion was dead before anybody else, despite the fact that neither family nor the authorities ever contacted her. She even called the office to make sure his paycheck and death benefits were promptly turned over. While all the evidence suggests that Dion's death was indeed a suicide, the coroner found scratch marks on his face, and friends believe Angela was at the hotel with Dion sometime before he pulled the trigger. Angela didn't even attend her husband's funeral. Instead, a month after he was dead, she allegedly filed a phony child support claim against him, prompting a district attorney to call Dion's office and asking for the dead man's whereabouts. By then, Angela had taken their child and fled to Texas. When she moved to Texas, she got a job at, well, what else? A stripper at the Yellow Rose Cabaret Club in Austin, Texas. It was there where she met one of her customers, a married executive named Gary Jones, who arranged loans at a Wells Fargo bank. Both became intimate with one another, as well as stealing from others, as they both stole a total of $393,000 in loans in November of 2001. It was then when they had a new target to scam. Nobody really knows how Angela Harkness and Gary Jones decided to form their own NASCAR team, but it's likely Angela dreamed it up. Authorities believe she might have dated people involved with the association, and a veteran NASCAR crewman remembers seeing her on the circuit before she and Jones put the con together. In the fall of 2002, Jones persuaded a longtime client, Rick Barton, to sponsor a team that didn't even exist yet. Barton was the president of a fledgling travel website called WiredFlyer.com, and exposure could bring in a lot of business. he agreed to sign on. Next, Jones went to Chris Greta at the Ad Ranch, an Austin agency, and hired him to market it. Greta said, quote, "Jones told me Angela's parents had escaped Iran with a whole bunch of money. She also claimed to be a kindergarten teacher, and turned out to be complete bullshit. It was just one of the many lies Angela told. Besides claiming to be an orphan, a model, a cop, and even a motocross racer who'd won contests in Germany, she also allegedly said she'd gotten a huge cash payout after her previous husband's death. Some NASCAR people even thought she got the money to finance a team by winning the lottery." When Angela drove up to Greta's office and stepped out of her Mercedes wearing a hot pink miniskirt and 4-inch heels, Greta knew she'd never been anywhere near a kindergarten class. But he didn't care. This busty woman in painted on clothes would create terrific ad buzz. And to make things even sweeter, Angela and Jones, a Middle Eastern woman and a black man, could be the poster children for diversity in NASCAR. And on October 25, 2002, Angela's Motorsports was born. Jones and Angela quickly lined up high-profile vendors like Hutcherson Pagan to provide parts and supplies for the team by promising them that WiredFlyer.com would raise funds. Meanwhile, they assured Rick Barton that other sponsors would step up and provide the bulk of the money. They made a deal with Ford for cars and got Robert Yates, a top NASCAR mogul with a 30-year history in the sport, to supply engines. Those names gave the new team legitimacy. Then they hired Mike McLaughlin to be their driver, and crew chief Harold Hawley, who dominated the NASCAR Busch Series in 2000. Quote, "We assembled one hell of a team," says Hawley. "I'm talking about people I'd won a championship with. We were ready to go to war." On November 20th, 2002, Jones took out a loan of $250,000 and later paid $150,000 to Yates and $100,000 to McLaughlin. The loans were in the name of Angela's mother, who, like Jones' sister, never knew a thing. All the paperwork was forged. On the outside, however, it looked like history was in the making for stock car racing. With a Middle Eastern woman and an African American man being the leaders of the team, they instantly won popularity over everyone in the NASCAR garage and emphasized that Angela's Motorsports would open gates of stock car racing for women and minorities. Even NASCAR themselves opened up with welcome arms. Quote, "Everybody who lived and moved in NASCAR came out to help Gary and Angela. They have supported a lot of them with time and energy without saving their experience and advice and effort." Their driver, Mike McLaughlin, was supposed to be their main driver in the 2003 season. However, Angela's Motorsports debuted at the start of the penultimate race at Phoenix International Raceway in the 2002 Busch season with driver Jay Sauter. However, he failed to qualify. Next week at Homestead, though, they fielded 2 cars with Jay Sauter in the 02 and Kevin LePage in the 71. Surprisingly, both cars made the show by qualifying 28th and 31st respectively. At the end, though, Jay Sauter would end up 25th, while LePage would finish 37th due to a brake failure. That, however, would be the team's only start in NASCAR. As the weeks went by, more and more people started to have a feeling that something was very fishy with Angela and the team. While it appeared that employees were being paid and most people involved with the team were excited about the future, not everyone was convinced things were on the up and up. Clyde McLoy, the team's general manager, said, quote, "I told Mike that I didn't believe anything about this. Go to the internet, look for WiredFlyer, and you'll find nothing but a damn travel agency. How much money do they need for such an enterprise? They need at least $6 million for a full season." They had nothing. It turns out, WiredFlyer was really just a small company whose budget was enough to get the team to cover their travel expenses. The CEO, Rick Barton, later said that he had never been more involved, and Jones was constantly convinced that their role as official chief sponsor would only survive until the talks with the big Dallasville company were completed. So, they had no reason to worry. However, the problem was that the generous Dallas company probably never existed. The team's airfield began collapsing at the start of the 2003 Busch season. In December 2002, Jones was downgraded to a simple administrator, and 1 month later, he was permanently dismissed from Wells Fargo. All this coincided with the time when the first checks arrived toward the guard, but they were unable to settle for the lack of financial coverage. For this reason, Angela made a $350,000 claim to Barton, threatening to take legal action if WiredFlyer did not pay on time. Of course, the company did not have to pay the amount of money that was included in the preliminary agreement, about 3 times the amount. Robert Yates also received a letter of a similar tone, who responded to this by taking his own hand and sending a few well-off men to the garage of Angela's Motorsport immediately to get everything they could be moved and tied to his guard. The biggest loser of the event, however, was undoubtedly Rick Barton, who his health started to decline during this fight with Angela Motorsports. And on July 30th, 2002, only at the age of 48, Barton would die from a heart attack. And as a result, Wildfire went bankrupt after the death of Barton. FBI Special Agent Matthew Grayville got word from Wells Fargo that several of Gary Jones's bogus loans had been flagged. Grayville tracked down Jones, who tried to pretend his two sisters and a former business associate were random people who had come in to borrow money. On October 9, 2003, Grayville arrested Jones, who eventually pleaded guilty to 4 counts of fraud, theft, and embezzlement, and 1 count of making false statements to the FBI. He was sentenced to 3 years and 10 months in prison and ordered to pay almost $1 million in restitution. 2 weeks after arresting Jones, authorities also closed in on Angela, who agreed to plead guilty and rat out her lover in exchange for lenient treatment. After making bail, she began reappearing at strip clubs, dancing to earn quick cash. One club regular remembers her showing up blind drunk and stumbling around on stage before managers sent her home in a cab. When the day of her sentencing came, Angela never showed. Deputy U.S. Marshal Hector Gomez and his team started their hunt by driving in unmarked cars past the houses of everyone connected to Angela, jotting down license plates along the way. They soon found that a car belonging to one of Angela's sisters, Beta, had crossed the border at El Paso around the time Angela disappeared. The marshals got another clue. A bank teller had seen Angela's wanted poster and had also seen her in person with Beta. The teller remembered that Beta had come in asking to have documents to the Embassy of the United Arab Emirates notarized. Gomez told his men to hit Beta's trash. "You can learn a lot from people's trash," Gomez explains. "It's one of the most painless ways of intruding into someone's privacy. And there's nothing like the smell of 3-day-old curry sauce." Investigators have succeeded in finding a crumpled fax in Beta's trash, which the woman wrote to the UAE Embassy in Washington with a request to validate her sister's, now called Fatemeh Karimkhani, employee's license as a beautician. Then there was another turn of key importance. "I got a phone call from a man in Dubai who didn't want to reveal his identity, claiming his wife met Angela," said Gomez. The anonymous announcer said that after seeing the woman's circular photo on the official website of the U.S. Marshal Service, he realized that she was a very dangerous woman, who he never wanted to see near his wife. He gave Angela a job address and contact details to the authorities, which Gomez immediately contacted Interpol, who then notified the authorities in Dubai. The local police on May 27, 2005, at her workplace in a beauty salon, police arrested Angela. But after she had been involved in her passport, she could stay free until her release to the US. Finally, Angela was arrested on April 2007 as she landed her scheduled flight from Dubai to New York JFK Airport. They did not wait for a long time with the sentence, and only 1 month later, on May 25th, 40 months in jail was imposed on her. And to end the story off, Clyde McLeod ends with this statement, quote, "Rick was so freaking mad at Gary and Angela. I bet you he's smiling in his grave, knowing they caught both of the bastards. Ordinarily, I wouldn't wish anyone to be caught up in a Middle Eastern jail," says an old friend of Dion's, "but if anyone deserves it, it's her." Now, as weird, crazy as the story is, this sort of had a positive outlook. As a positive legacy of the equality initiative that Angela's Motorsports has suggested, 2 years after Angela's Motorsports was created, NASCAR created the Drive for Diversity program in 2004 with the initiative of bringing more women and other minorities into the world of NASCAR. This program has produced talents like Kyle Larson, Bubba Wallace, and Daniel Suarez. So partially, you can thank a former stripper and a con artist for having these talents. It's actually kind of funny now that you look at it. Whew, man, what an episode that was. Well, folks, thank you so much for watching episode 2 of NASCAR on MDK Inside the Line Stock Car Stories. If you guys enjoyed this video, leave a like and subscribe for more content, and tell me what do you guys think about this story in the comment section down below. Until next time, I'm Jake from NASCAR on MDK. Thanks for watching.